Okay, I've done this lighthearted disclaimer before, but I'm going to use it again. I think I've done this lighthearted disclaimer probably twice before. Now, anybody who's familiar with knows I have a lot of listeners, viewers, supporters, Patreon subscribers that come from a wide range of countries and that have a wide range of racial and ethnic backgrounds. So my commentary does not serve one racial or ethnic demographic. In other words, I have a large percentage of Caucasian male followers and supporters. I have a large percentage of Asian male followers and supporters. I have a large percentage of Hispanic male followers and supporters. And of course, I got a percentage of Black male followers and supporters. I got Middle Eastern male followers and supporters. Trying to think any other race that I might be forgetting. So I really don't like to do video podcasts that are too specific on one racial or ethnic demographic because I feel like it alienates my other followers and supporters. But I've done at minimum at least probably 2 previous video podcasts starting with April of 2017 that I either lightheartedly or half serious, half lightheartedly, I made mention that the fact that it was geared particularly towards my Black male demographic. Well, here's going to be one of those videos. So I'm not saying that if you're Caucasian, Asian, Hispanic, Middle Eastern, that you cannot watch this video podcast. You're free to watch it if you choose to, but at least 80 to 90% of my commentary is going to be directed at Black men. Not so much specifically my Black male listeners and supporters, because as y'all know, I love all of my male listeners and supporters. I don't have issue with them, and they don't have issue with me. So, if you're a Patreon subscriber of mine, an email consultation client of mine, Skype and consultation client of mine, one-on-one face-to-face coaching session client of mine, you've read my ebooks, paperbacks, and audiobooks, and you enjoyed them, then this video podcast ain't really for you. I mean, you can listen, but it's not for you. But yeah, I just, now another thing is I rarely do videos on Saturdays. This is literally starting with April of 2017. I want to say this is only the 4th time. This is only the 4th time I've done a video podcast on a Saturday. Because I've always said, if there's 2 or 3 times of the week I rarely do videos, is on Friday evenings. Matter of fact, I don't think I've ever done a video on a Friday evening. I rarely do videos on a Saturday morning, although it's fairly early. It's about my time. It's about 10:40 a.m. in Chicago time, 10:40 a.m. So that's fairly early. I never do videos on Saturday nights or very early Sunday mornings. So yeah, Friday nights, early Saturday mornings, Saturday nights, early Sunday mornings. Those are the times I rarely do any video podcasts, or I won't participate in any type of. But anyway, here's the gist of this video. I participated in 3 interviews with other Black men in the manosphere this week. One interview went very well. One interview was okay. And another interview, all hell broke loose. Now, the latter 2 interviews were with the same person. And a lot of times when I talk about people, you'll hear me say, oh, I'm not going to mention their name, or I'm not going to say their name. No, I'm going to mention the names. First of all, the very good interview I did was the interview with Donovan Sharp. Donovan Sharp we had an interview about the detriments of cheating, the detriments of having the long-term detriments of having a side chick if you're unmarried or a mistress if you're married. That's related to my last Negro Manosphere article. I did an article of that title. I had it, and so much props to Donovan Sharp, because me and Donovan Sharp, it had some minor differences, nothing major, nothing on a personal level. It was more so philosophical differences. But yeah, man, we had a great interview and discussion, man. We had an absolutely great interview and discussion. That happened on Thursday. That was on Thursday evening. Me and oh shit, what is that? Damn, I got bit by a spider. Damn. When did that damn thing bite me? You could call me Peter Parker. I've been bitten by spiders so much in my life. I had one. If I was to show y'all, I got a thing on my knee, my right knee. I think it was 2014, 2015, one of the most venomous spiders in the country. Next to the black widow is the brown recluse. The brown recluse spider. I had a brown recluse spider bit me on my right knee. I want to say in 2015. I still have the mark from that bite. It looks like a healed bullet wound on my right knee, and I'm not even joking. Hold on a second. I'm thirsty. Okay, my latter two interviews, I'm going to give you the brief backstory. Most of you all know this. There's a YouTube personality. And again, 90% of the time when I talk about him, I either just say his nickname or I'll say I don't want to say his name, but I'm going to just go ahead and say the dude's name. His name is Mumia Obsidian Ally. I don't think that's his birth certificate name. I'm pretty much certain that that's not the name on his birth certificate, but that's the name he goes by. Mumia Obsidian Ally. So to give you the brief backstory, how we came about was in September of 2015, he did a podcast, burp number 2, where he said Alan Roger Currie does not speak to brothers like me. And basically what he went on to say in this podcast was that he felt like I was too middle class and too pretentious to relate to the average everyday street brother, the average everyday street black man, the black man from the streets, or if not the black man from the streets, a black man who has a working class background, who never attended a major college or university or even a community college, a guy who's a blue collar worker. He basically suggested that guys in those two categories, guys from the streets and guys who come from a working class blue collar background, wouldn't be able to relate to the advice that I offer in my articles, my books, and my podcast episodes. And then I came back hard at him. I came back real hard at him. I basically, in so many words, was like, dude, you don't know me. You don't know me. You ain't never hung around me. So how do you know anything about me? You ain't even never had a telephone conversation with me. You don't know me. So how are you going to offer an evaluation of my behavior and you don't know me? Keep that in mind. Keep that point in mind about offering assessments and evaluations of people that you've never had personal interaction with. Keep that in mind, because I'm going to definitely touch on it later in this video. So yeah, now then, to his credit, after I came back hard on him, he offered an apology. He offered an apology. I'll include the apology in the comment section below. I'll include the apology in the comment section below. Yeah, he offered an apology. And then, next thing I know, within, I'd say, roughly 2 to 4 weeks after he offered that apology, that was, I want to say, in late September of 2015, next thing I know, he starts promoting the shit out of my books. Now, he didn't ask me to do that. Let me point that out. He didn't ask me, Alan, would you mind if I promote your books? He just took it upon himself to just start promoting my books on his YouTube channel. The main book he promoted was my book, The Possibility of Sex. He fell in love with my book, The Possibility of Sex. He fell in love with that book. He loved that book so much, he actually offered to finance a book signing event for that book. But in order to do a book signing, the book has to be in paperback version. And that's actually one of my few books that's only in ebook version and audiobook version. I don't have a paperback version of The Possibility of Sex. But he loved The Possibility of Sex. I mean, like, loved it. He did a whole video podcast episode just on that book. And I would say to a far lesser extent, he started promoting Mo 1. He didn't really promote Who Said Again. So yeah, he didn't promote that book. I've never heard him promote my book, Who Said Again. But he promoted the shit out of The Possibility of Sex. And again, to a far lesser extent, he promoted my book, Mo 1. And then later on, when I came out with the Beta Male Revolution in June of 2016, he began heavily promoting that book as well. He promoted the Beta Male Revolution almost just as much as he did The Possibility of Sex. So we developed what I guess could be called a friendship, even though I never met him in real life. But we even talked on the phone a few times, you know. So yeah, starting with roughly mid to late October, no later than early November, he started promoting my books like he would start some of his podcast episodes by saying, Mo 1. You would have thought I was paying him money to promote my shit. That's how much he promoted my shit. Seriously, I'm not even joking. He promoted my book so heavily, you would have literally thought I was paying him money to be some type of official promotional agent or some type of promotional affiliate for my ebooks, paperbacks, and audiobooks. That's how much he would like do his own specials. He would come to me like, Alan, I want to offer special. Like, if somebody comes to you and say that I referred them to you for an email consultation or a Skype or telephone consultation, that you give them a 10 or 20% discount. That's how enthusiastic he was about promoting my books. Mumia Obsidian Ally. Dude was all about promoting my books. Okay? So let's say start with roughly November of 2015 all the way up until June of 2016. He was promoting this. 2017. Starting with November of 2015 all the way up until late May, early June of 2017, he was promoting the shit out of my book. Again, he never would promote Who Said Again. And he would only promote Mo 1 to a small degree. But Possibility of Sex and the Beta Male Revolution, he promoted the shit out of those two books. So, the first turning point in our relationship, our friendship, if you want to call it that, was I did a video called Direct versus Indirect. And how men could use Mo 1 to prevent false, invalid date rape charges. That was the video. I did a video basically about, because I've talked about that a few times, about the verbally direct approach versus the verbally indirect approach. And again, most people know what that is, but for that small percentage of listeners and viewers of mine who might be like, okay, I don't really understand the difference between direct and indirect. A direct approach is when you approach a woman, initiate a conversation with her, and you let her know in the first few minutes of the conversation that The reason I'm talking to you right now is because ultimately I want to date you or I want to have casual sex with you. End of story. That would be a direct report approach. So if you approach a woman and you initiate a conversation with her and you know that your objective is long-term monogamous sex with her and you tell her that straightforwardly, that's a direct approach. If your interest is long-term non-monogamous sex with her and you tell her that straightforwardly, that's a direct approach. If your interest is short-term monogamous sex and you tell her that straightforwardly, that's a direct approach. And if your interest is short-term non-monogamous sex and you tell her that upfront and straightforwardly, that would be representative of a direct approach. Indirect approach is when you approach a woman and at least for the first 10, 15, 20 minutes of the conversation, you basically pretend like you're just really interested in having a friendly, flattering, entertaining conversation with her. You don't really make any mention of your specific desires, interests, and intentions. You just basically, again, at bare minimum, I would say for at least the first 10 minutes, if not longer, you basically act like, oh, I'm just talking to you just because I want to have an interesting conversation with you. And then you slowly kind of weasel your way in to letting that woman know, usually in a beat around the bush, vague and ambiguous manner, that you want to hook up with her for romance or casual sex. That's the indirect approach. That's the indirect approach. So I did a video on that. I covered the pros and cons of the direct approach versus the indirect approach. And then secondly, I talked about how when you're mode 1, which is representative of a direct approach, I feel that when you're mode 1, it will pretty much always prevent you from putting yourself in a compromising position where a woman can accuse you of forcible sex or some variation of date rape. Because if you notice, I've rarely, if ever, and if you can correct me if I'm wrong, I invite you to put it in the comment section. But I rarely, if ever, have heard an incident where a guy was charged with date rape, where he specifically told the woman up front and straightforwardly, hey, I'm just looking to fuck you. That's all I'm looking to do. I'm just looking to fuck you. I ain't looking to marry you. I ain't looking to be your next long-term boyfriend. I'm just looking to fuck. Are you game? Yes or no? And then the woman had sex with that guy. And then later on that woman said, oh, that guy date raped me. He date raped me. There might be a situation like that. I'm just saying, I don't know of any. I'll say this. If a situation has happened where a woman has accused a guy who was very verbally direct about the fact that he just wanted to have sex with her, and more specifically casual sex with her, and that woman turned around and accused him of date rape, I don't know of any situation like that. Definitely of anybody I know personally. So anyway, Mumia Obsidian Ally, I'll take that back. There was one more thing I discussed. Not only those two things, but the one other thing I discussed in this particular video, this was the first week of June of 2017. I emphasized the point that a lot of men cannot handle rejection. A lot of men cannot handle rejection. That's one of the reasons why a lot of men resort to rape and date rape. A lot of men can't handle a woman not reciprocating their sexual desires, interests, and intentions. They can't. It's that simple. A lot of men cannot handle, and I will say that, and Mumia and his listeners and followers hate when I repeat this over and over again, but I'm going to repeat it over and over again to the day I die. A lot of men cannot handle when a woman that they're attracted to refuses to reciprocate their sexual desires, interests, and intentions. That's one of the reasons why you have the 5 categories. You always hear me talk about there's only really 5 general categories of getting a woman to have sex with you. There's only really 5 general categories of getting a woman to have sex with you. I've said it multiple times. Attraction, seduction, dishonesty and manipulation, financial negotiation, and coercion. That's the 5. Anytime you get a woman to agree to have sex with you, it's going to be because of one of those methods, or it might be because a combination of 2 of those methods, such as attraction and seduction. But it's going to be because of one of those methods: attraction, seduction, dishonesty and manipulation, financial negotiation, and coercion. And essentially, it comes down to this. It comes down to the fact, number one, that you want a woman to reciprocate your sexual desires, interests, and intentions. And then secondly, it comes down to how you're going to go about getting her to do that. See, with attraction, that's when you don't have to do anything. That's when a woman is going to voluntarily and enthusiastically reciprocate your sexual desires, interests, and intentions. Either she's just going to approach you and basically offer you her sexual companionship, or if you simply invite her to share your company sexually, she's going to immediately and enthusiastically say, yes, I'm interested. That's attraction. If you're dealing with a woman that has some degree of attraction to you, she finds you physically attractive to some degree, sexually appealing to some degree, but at the same time, she has some degree of resistance, indifference, or reluctance. Resistance, indifference, or reluctance. That's where persuasion comes into play, otherwise known as seduction. That's when you need to persuade a woman to reciprocate your desires, interests, and intentions. You need to persuade. Again, attraction is when you simply invite a woman to reciprocate your sexual desires, interests, and intentions. Seduction is when you indulge in persuading a woman to reciprocate your sexual desires, interests, and intentions. Dishonesty and manipulation is when you feel the need to trick a woman into reciprocating your sexual desires, interests, and intentions through means of lying to her and misleading her or manipulating her emotions. The main example of that, as I've already stated multiple times, is, for example, if a woman expresses that she's only interested in long-term monogamous sex, and you give her the misleading impression that that's what you're interested in too, even though deep down you know you're only interested in short-term non-monogamous sex. And so by pretending that you have the same exact interests that she does, you're tricking her into reciprocating your desires, interests, and intentions. You're tricking her. That's dishonesty and manipulation. A lot of PUAs endorse that method. Even a lot of dating coaches too. A lot of PUAs and certain dating coaches. I could name names, but I'm not going to do that at this time. But yeah, a lot of people openly endorse dishonesty and manipulation. Financial negotiation. That's when your number one means of getting a woman to reciprocate your sexual desires, interests, and intentions is by offering her some type of monetary incentive or reward. Some type of monetary or materialistic incentive or reward in order to increase her motivation to have sex with you. That's financial negotiation. Was also known as tricking or whining and dining. Tricking or whining and dining. Tricking is when you just straight up say to a woman, I will pay you $150 if you give me some pussy. You directly proposition a woman with money for her sexual companionship. That's called tricking. That's illegal in most cities, in most countries. Whining and dining is when you go the indirect route. That's when you go the indirect route. That's when you, instead of offering a woman money directly for a sexual companionship, you offer to do things like pay some of her bills, buy her materialistic gifts, offer her employment opportunities. At bare minimum, offer a number of free meals, free movies, free concerts. And then you make it known in one way or another that you expect her to reward you for your financial favors with her sexual companionship. And then finally, coercion. That's when you want to force a woman to reciprocate your sexual desires, interests, and intentions. You want to force a woman to reciprocate your sexual desires, interests, and intentions. Now, back to my video in early June of last year, not this year, of last year. So I did a video, again, that covered direct versus indirect, how to use Mode 1 to prevent false date rape charges, and I emphasized in that video that a lot of men cannot handle rejection to the point where they will resort to trying to force a woman to have sex with them. Or they might even get so irritated and agitated that they go out and commit murder, like Elliot Rodger, George Soldini, Alec Manassian, and a number of other violent incels. Violent incels. You know, here's the thing about the incels, and some of my close friends know this. Do you know I predicted this shit back in the mid to late 90s? Even before there was an incident like an Elliot Rodger type incident. I predicted this shit as far back as the mid to late 90s. I was talking about it with close friends. And if you read my original 1999 version of Mode 1, on my chapter about Mode 4 behavior, Mode 4, my version of incels, I never use the term incels in my book, but I would talk about romantically and sexually frustrated beta males and romantically and sexually frustrated bitter misogynists. Romantically and sexually frustrated bitter misogynists, or I would also refer to them as romantically and sexually frustrated beta males. And I talked about, I basically said that at least a small percentage of these guys, these type of guys, who, because I basically said there's two types of guys who go into the Mode 4 zone. There's some guys who make periodic and temporary pit stops into the Mode 4 zone. I've done that myself a number of times. I said there's a lot of guys who will make temporary pit stops into the Mode 4 zone, and they will stay there for maybe 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, maybe even a week or two. But then I said there's other guys who will permanently take up residence in the Mode 4 zone. They will permanently take up residence in the Mode 4 zone. And I basically said, starting with the mid and late 90s, I said, those are the guys you're going to have to watch out for. I said, those guys are going to potentially become a danger to society because they have a potential to become violent. I said this as early as like 1995, 1996. I said that to people. I said, those type of guys are going to become violent. They're going to want to resort to like raping women, sexually assaulting women, and even in some cases murdering women. And sure enough, we've seen that. We've seen that. We've seen that. So, Mumia Obsidian Ally comes in my comment section and tries to challenge a couple of things. First thing he tried to challenge was my discussion. Well, he challenged all the three things I talked about in that video. As far as direct versus indirect, he tried to say that he felt that indirect was just as effective, if not more effective, than direct, particularly if a guy is average to less than average looking. That's what he tried to argue. He said he felt like indirect was more conducive to a guy. And I've heard this, I've talked about this in the last 2 to 3 weeks. A lot of guys have tried to come at me with that argument that Mode 1 is only really beneficial if you're a really good looking guy. That's essentially, in so many words, what Mumia Obsidian Ally tried to argue back in early June of last year. He basically like direct, he felt like direct was more beneficial if you're an exceptionally good looking guy. But if you're an average to less than average looking guy, you probably would be more beneficial being indirect. Okay, stop right there. Is he entitled to his opinion? Sure he is. Sure he is. Here's the problem. And this is what he didn't get for months. I don't even think he gets this to this day. I already mentioned that this motherfucker start promoting my books. Starting with November 2015. He was promoting The Possibility of Sex big time. Right behind that, he was promoting The Beta Male Revolution. And then to a far lesser level, he was promoting Mo 1. Why would I want a guy promoting my books from a purely business level? Why would I want a guy promoting my books who's going to say publicly that they think being indirect is just as effective, if not more effective, than direct? Why would I want him to promote my books? Now, if he wasn't promoting my books up to this point, I wouldn't have cared about him expressing that opinion. I just would have offered a rebuttal. But this motherfucker was promoting my books, man, for like a year and a half at this point. Over a year and a half. But yet that would be like if I had a bunch of books about the low carb diet, like the Atkins diet or the South Beach diet. Let's say I was a diet guru instead of a dating coach, and I had books about a low carb diet, and Mumia Obsidian Ally was promoting my low carb books for a year and a half or more, and then all of a sudden I do a YouTube video where I'm talking about how low carb I think should be more preferred than low fat diet, and he comes in and says, well, actually, I think the low fat diet is just as effective, if not more effective, than the low carb diet. Again, is he entitled to express that opinion just as a person? Yes, he sure is. But not if he's promoting my books. Why would I want him to say that if he's promoting my book? If I've given him permission, my blessings to promote my books, why would I want him saying that shit? That don't even make business sense. So that was his first strike on that video. Second thing, to do with the false date rape charges. He argued that, he said basically like, oh, Alan, I don't care what you do. I don't care if you mow 1, mow 2, mow 3, mow 4, whatever. Women are just some scandalous bitches, and they gonna throw a false date rape charge on a man whenever they feel like it. It ain't got nothing to do with whether or not you mow 1 or not. Mow 1 ain't gonna help a woman, ain't gonna help a man from preventing false date rape charges. I'm going to say again, time out. Is he entitled to his opinion? Sure he is. One thing I've never said to anybody, I've never told a person that they're not entitled to their own opinions. That's one thing you will never hear Alan Roger Currie say. I will never tell any human being that they are not entitled to their own opinions, even their own strong opinions. Now, I will always say this, though. If you express an opinion, then I also have the right to offer a rebuttal, response, or counterpoint to your opinion. So if you're going to express opinion to me, then you're opening up my opportunity to offer a response to your opinion. But did he have a right to say that as just an opinion? Again, he had the right to say that. But now I'm going to switch, like I did with the first thing, on a business level. This dude was promoting my books. Why would I want somebody who's promoting my books to say that I don't think Mo 1 is effective? Because that's what he was essentially saying. He was essentially saying, I don't think Mo 1 is as effective as you're presenting it to be, Alan. When it came to nitty-gritty, that's essentially what he was saying. I don't think Mo 1 behavior is as effective as you're presenting it to be. And again, just on an opinion level, he's entitled to that opinion. But if you promote my books, strike number 2. Strike number 2. And you know I'm headed towards the third strike. The third and final strike is on the rejection piece. When I was talking about a lot of men can't handle rejection, and even a percentage of men take it so far as to, curse women out when they get rejected, or they might resort to rape or date rape, or in some cases, they might even resort to killing women like Elliot Rodger. and George Sordini. This guy says Elliot Rodger is entitled to his preferences for feminine companionship. He says Elliot Rodger is entitled to his preferences for feminine companionship. A man that's a mass murderer, someone that Mumia Obsidian Ally himself has said is a mentally ill, psychotic mass murderer, he gonna come in my comment section and say that Elliot Rodger, like, why are you coming down so hard on Elliot Rodger? He's entitled to his preferences. What am I about to say? You know what I'm about to say. Insert dog face here. I ask you, my listener and viewer. I ask you, my listener and viewer. I want you to be objective. You know I love objectivity. I love men who are objective. And I'm going to state again, is he entitled to express his opinions in my comment section? Is he entitled to that? Yeah, he is. If that's his opinion about Elliot Rodger, he's entitled to express that opinion. No doubt. No doubt. But if this guy is trying to be a business collaborator of mine, which he was trying to be at the time, he wanted to be a major business collaborator of mine. He was promoting my books on his show. You think I'm going to be cool with a motherfucker saying something like that? If he's promoting my books, if you were a book author and you had somebody promoting your books, would you want somebody promoting your book saying some stupid shit like that? Would you? I want you to let me know. So I wrote him that night. I said, dude, on a business level, we're done. We're done. Now, I did tell him, I said, on a personal level, I said, I don't have any beef with you. I told him that in the email. I still got the email. I said, on a personal level, you're entitled to express whatever opinions you want to express. Because I just said a few minutes ago, I don't prevent anybody from expressing the opinions they want to express. But I said on a strictly business level, we are done. And he could not handle that. He has not been the same since. He has not been the same since. He has not been the same since. Even some of his own followers, who he's since dismissed them from his, his legion of supporters, because I used to pay attention to this comment section. Even some of his own original listeners and supporters of his channel turned on him, man, because they could see him starting to become petty. They could tell that he was butthurt that I dumped him as a potential business collaborator. Yeah, man. So it wasn't just me who could see it. And it wasn't just my followers who could see it, who knew who he was, but his own listeners and followers and supporters. Because a lot of them wrote me emails. There were a lot of guys who were previously supporters of his that wrote me. And they said, yeah, man, initially I used to follow both you and Mumia Obsidian Ally, but now I just follow you because, man, I thought the way he started attacking you after, you dropped him, told him not to promote your books anymore, I just thought he just became petty. Yeah, man. And he's been petty ever since. You're talking about over a year now. He hasn't been consistent. It's been kind of off and on, but the dude has just been ridiculously petty. Okay, now I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm going to skip over some things now. So now this brings us, I ain't received an email from this guy in a long time. I want to say the last time was maybe July, maybe August of last year. He sends me an email saying that he's inviting Richard Cooper, who I met at the 21 convention last year, that he was inviting Richard Cooper to come on his show to talk about the incel epidemic, which would include guys like Alec Manassian, Elliot Rodger, George Sordini. He wanted to talk about that. He said it was inevitable that my name was going to be brought up. So he said, he wrote me an email saying, Alan, I'm not obligating you to, but I would like you to participate in this interview along with Richard Cooper as we talk about incest. And it's funny, man. I always say, and people always say, man, you should always listen to your little voice, what's known as your little voice, your gut instinct. My gut instinct said, Alan, you know if you go on his live stream, you know he's going to find a way to bring up other shit. You know he's going to find a way to bring up other shit. Dude, once I get on the live stream, he didn't even really talk about incels. He didn't even really talk about incels. He talked about damn near everything but the incel epidemic. Now, with Richard Cooper, he did. When he was interviewing Richard Cooper, they did talk about, spend a lot of that conversation talking about the incels. But when he was interviewing me, no, he didn't want to talk about incels. He wanted to talk about all this other shit. He actually interviewed me twice. He interviewed me on, what's the day, Saturday? So he interviewed me on Thursday. Yeah, he interviewed me on Thursday afternoon. Or was it Wednesday? One of those two. I think it's Thursday. Wednesday or Thursday. It's either Wednesday or Thursday. And then he interviewed me again yesterday. He took down the live stream now, so you can't see it. But I'm going to tell you guys, man. And now, see, a lot of this stuff I've been talking about so far, I start off saying I was going to be towards my black male demographic. But a lot of this stuff is kind of in general. But now, this is where I'm going to spend probably the last 15 minutes just talking to black men on YouTube. Man, if you're an avid supporter of Mumia Obsidian Ally, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray for you. I'm serious. I'm not saying that lightheartedly. I'm not saying that facetiously. I'm going to pray for you. Because you are following a man who, in my opinion, I talked about opinions all throughout this video podcast, so I'm going to express my opinion. This is not a scientific fact. This is Alan Roger Currie's opinion. In my opinion, Mumia Obsidian Ally is mentally and emotionally unstable. Let me repeat that. That man is mentally and emotionally unstable. Why? If anybody was a part of the live stream that happened yesterday, and particularly towards the tail end, because he interviewed me for about roughly 2 hours. And what was interesting is you could say for the first hour and 50 minutes of our 2-hour interview, things were generally okay, believe it or not. They weren't real contentious. I mean, we had a few disagreements, but they weren't real contentious. So out of the 2 hour, roughly, it was maybe a little over 2 hours, but let's just say it was a 2-hour interview. I would say out of the 2 hours he interviewed me, for about an hour and 50 minutes of that 2-hour interview, things were generally okay. It was just some casual philosophical disagreements. But the last 10 minutes, that man showed his true colors. That man showed his true colors. Here's how you can generally tell without being a credentialed psychiatrist, and I'm not one, without being a credentialed psychiatrist, how somebody, to one degree or another, is mentally and emotionally unstable, is when they snap over something that in the big picture is trivial. It's trivial. Did y'all ever see the movie? I can name a bunch of movies, but one off the top of my head is Misery. Great movie if you into suspense thrillers and that type of thing. It starred James Caan and Kathy Bates. It was kind of in the vein of a Fatal Attraction type of movie. Kathy Bates was this woman who lived in this secluded house out in the woods somewhere in Minnesota, I want to say. And James Caan was this nationally known novelist. And he gets into a car accident during a major snow blizzard. And she rescues him and brings James Caan to her house. And at first he thinks she's just like a normal, a normal woman. And most people who are mentally unbalanced and emotionally unstable always going to start off seeming normal. Because trust me, I've dealt with at least a dozen people in my life who proved themselves later on to be mentally unbalanced or emotionally unstable. Here's a moment when you can always tell when they are. In the movie Misery, man, she's offering an evaluation of some of his books, and I think it was one book in particular, and she basically said that she didn't like the profanity. And James Caan was like, well, I try to make all of my books realistic, and the profanity represents how people really talked in that city during that era. And he was thinking she was going to be like, oh, okay, I understand that. Man, she like goes the fuck off. Like goes the fuck off on him, man. Just starts going off on him. You gotta watch the movie. That scene, that's the first scene where you realize that all her dolls aren't barking. All her elevators are not going up to the top floor. You realize that. That's when you at that moment when you watch the movie, you're like, okay, this bitch is crazy. And that's how you can tell both in movies and in real life. That's how you can usually tell when people are a little off. Is when they snap off on shit that for all practical purposes is trivial. In other words, I shouldn't say trivial, but it's not something that has life or death consequences. When people become highly emotional over something that has either life or death consequences, health-related consequences, or major financial related consequences, that's when you can understand people get emotional. Your mother died unexpectedly. Your father died unexpectedly. Your son or daughter gets injured in a horrible car crash. You got a job that earns $200,000 a year and you unexpectedly get fired. You find out your brother or sister got cancer. I can go on and on. But when people become highly emotional over something that has major repercussions and consequences attached to it, that's when you say you understand it. But let's say I got a roommate. I'm living in an apartment and I got a roommate. And let's say, okay, I love Zevia. Let's say he bought a 6-pack of great Zevia. And let's say I just happened to take one of his cans of grape Zevia without asking. Okay, let's say I have a roommate and I take one of his cans of grape Zevia without asking. Now let's say his reaction is, damn, Alan, did you just take one of my cans of Zevia without asking me? And I say, yeah, man, my bad, man. As soon as I go to the store, I'm going to hook you up with another one. And he says, okay, man, but the next time at least ask my permission, man. Come on, man. At least do give me the respect to ask my permission. But it's no big deal. Yeah, man, just hook me up with another one when you go to the grocery store. That would be a normal reaction. Now let's say that same roommate, I take one of his cans of grape Zevia, and he says, Alan, did you fucking take my can of grape Zevia? Did you do that? And I'm like, yeah, man, what's the big deal? Motherfucker, I will kill you, man. I will kill you, man. You ever fucking take a grape Zevia from me again? Man, I'll fuck you up, man. I'll take a sledgehammer and knock your head in, man. Don't ever do that shit again. What kind of reaction do you think I'm gonna have? Right after that conversation, I'm gonna be like, okay, if I signed a lease, how can I get the fuck up out of this lease? Because I'm gonna move the fuck out. Because right then and there, that motherfucker has told me that he's crazy. He's crazy. If that motherfucker is snapping off over the fact that I took one can of his grape Zevia, then that means that dude is mentally unbalanced and he's emotionally unstable. He got a lot of pent-up issues that he hasn't dealt with. Let me repeat that. A lot of people who are mentally unbalanced and emotionally unstable are people who have a lot of pent-up issues and personal traumas that they haven't reconciled yet. They haven't brought closure to yet. Does that sound familiar to you, Mumia Obsidian Ally? The fact that you bring up your high school prom story like 380 times a year. Does that sound familiar to you? You done brought up that fucking prom story like 1,000 times in the last fucking 2 years. That shit ends up seeping into my dreams. I hear it so goddamn much. That lets me know that Mumia Obsidian Ally has not dealt with this prom issue. For those of you who might not know, like, Alan, I don't keep up with this Mumia Obsidian Ally. I don't even know who the fuck he is. What are you talking about? Number one, who is this guy? And what are you talking about, this prom story? Again, I want to try to wrap up in the next 10 minutes, but he brings up this prom story where he asked 12 women to the prom that he was attracted to, and they all rejected him. And then his mother and sister took it upon themselves to try to fix him up with some women that they knew, like 4 girls that they knew. I don't know if these girls were friends of his 3 sisters or daughters of his mother's friends, combination of the two, but they tried to hook him up. And he took major offense to that. Because he wasn't physically or sexually attracted to these 4 girls. He felt like it was out of place for his mother and sisters to try to matchmake him with women, girls that he was not physically or sexually attracted to. He defines that experience as a form of psychological and emotional abuse on behalf of his mother and sisters. I'm not a credentialed psychiatrist, so I wouldn't even attempt to diagnose that as either being representative of abuse or not being representative of abuse. That's for a therapist to determine. I would highly recommend that Mumia Obsidian Ally go see a therapist. And I'm not trying to be funny. Some of y'all might think, oh, Alan trying to go in, or no, I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. That's what therapists are for, man. That's literally what therapists are for. Is when you have unresolved issues that you have not been able to reconcile and bring closure to. That's the whole purpose of a psychotherapist, a psychiatric therapist, is for you to kind of vent to them, and that therapist helps you over a period of weeks, months, even years, reconcile those issues and bring closure to them. It's obvious that he has not dealt with this issue. But anyway, going back to our interview, here's what set him off. Again, he took down the video, so you can't see it. You can only depend on my word. But the people who were there, who were present, or people who were watching, they saw it. They know I'm not lying. Here's what set him off. Now, you would think what would set him off would be something like if I called him out of his name, like I said, man, Mumia Obsidian Ally, you a loser, man. You a bitch. You a fucking asshole, man. You a dick. You're a homosexual. You know, you would think it would be because I would be hurling insults at him that he would just snap off. But and I saw 2 people before he took down the video. I happened to read his comment section before he took it down. And 2 people, one of them was I want to say one of my supporters. The other dude, I think, was a supporter of his. But there were at least 2 people who noticed something he did. Here's what he started criticizing me on. He said, Alan, I don't feel like you're empathetic to black men who have been verbally, psychologically, and emotionally abused by their mothers, their sisters, their wives, ex-wives, girlfriends, ex-girlfriends, or women they have worked with or worked for. All black women, not just women in general. He specifically emphasizing black women. He said, so his biggest criticism of me, he said, Alan, I don't think you're empathetic to black men who have suffered some form of abuse at the hands of black women. I specifically said during the interview, I said, no, that's not true. I said, I used to be a mentor for young black men at a local university in Northwest Indiana. And I had a lot of my young mentees, not a lot, I shouldn't say a lot, I say at least a handful of them that had experiences where they felt like, you know, their mothers were very controlling, domineering, overbearing. And I used to be a listening ear for them. I used to be kind of an informal therapist for them. So I've been empathetic. Now, what I did make it clear though, I said, now me myself, if you're talking about Alan Roger Currie, I personally have never had an incident where I felt like I was psychologically or emotionally abused by a black woman. My mother my mother yelled at me. We had arguments and shit, but I would never categorize any of my mother's behavior as being abusive. I never had any aunts of mine that were abusive. My maternal or paternal grandmother was never abusive. So as far as black female family members, I've never had a black female family member of mine that exhibited any behavior towards me that I would deem abusive. And moving away from family on a personal social level, oh, hell no. If I got even a sign that a black woman, like say a girlfriend of mine or a fuck buddy of mine was trying to verbally disrespect me or verbally abuse me in any kind of way, oh, they would be kicked to the curb with a quickness. I don't tolerate that shit. I think probably the closest I've come to somewhat having to deal with some type of verbal abuse from a woman was some of my female supervisors and female bosses I've had in my life. That's one reason why I've never liked having a female boss or female supervisor. But not all of them were exclusively black though. But yeah, that's the closest I would say I've come to dealing with it. But anyway, I made the point during the interview. Hold that thought. Okay. I'm back. Yeah, I made the point that I said, no, I disagree with you when you say I'm not empathetic to other black men who may have been verbally, psychologically, or emotionally abused by black women. But I'm just letting you know, I personally have not experienced that. But I've had, again, mentees, maybe probably a handful of friends or acquaintances. I want to say even maybe a handful of my dating coaching clients. And all my clients know. Matter of fact, this past week, I had a client compliment me on my level of empathy. And I told him that. That's the ironic thing. I had just done a Skype consultation with a client who that was one of his compliments of me. He said, Alan, one of the reasons I love doing consultation sessions with you is because you're a great listening ear for my relationship problems. And you are very empathetic. You got to be being a dating coach. I mean, come on. But anyway, he keeps trying to express. But here was the thing that set him off, though. This was mind-blowing for me. And this is why I expressed the opinion that he's mentally imbalanced and emotionally unstable. Here's what I said to him that snapped him off. I said, dude, his mantra centers around what he likes to refer to as black female fuckery. BFF. Black female fuckery. And what I told him is simply this. I said, Obsidian, on your channel, you're free to talk about anything and everything you want to. You're free to talk about anything and everything you want to. But the problem I have with you is you want damn near every other black man on YouTube to emphasize the same issues that you're emphasizing. You want every other black man to emphasize black female fuckery. It ain't just, you're not just satisfied with talking about black female fuckery on your own channel. You want literally every black man you know on YouTube to spend a considerable amount of time on their respective channels talking about black female fuckery. And I said, I, for one, refuse to do that. I said, that's your shit. That's not my shit. That's your mantra. That's not my mantra. Man, me describing it verbally ain't gonna do it justice. Man, he literally lost his shit. He lost his shit. Just on me saying that simple comment, he lost his shit. He started saying, stop, 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 please stop, stop, stop. That's all he kept saying. He kept saying, just stop, over and over again in this highly screeching, emotional tone of voice. He just was like, stop, stop, stop. Like he was literally having a nervous breakdown. And I'm not even, again, if anybody was there, they'll know I'm telling the truth, that I'm not making this up. Because again, he took down the live stream now. But he just starts saying stop over and over and over again. And I ain't gonna lie, I got a little emotional too. I started telling him to shut the fuck up. I said, man, shut the fuck up. I was actually just toying with it. I said, shut the fuck up, man. Shut the fuck up. And he ended up kicking me off his live stream. But yeah, man, he literally, man, he started losing it, man. I mean, to me, man, it was like he was having a nervous breakdown. Or if not a nervous breakdown, it's the first cousin to a nervous breakdown is what's known as an emotional meltdown. He was having, at minimum, an emotional meltdown, man. I mean, you would think he would just say, oh, okay, Alan, I can respect that. Yeah, you know, I'll talk about what I want to talk about on my channel, and you talk about what you want to talk about on your channel. That's what any other objective person on YouTube, who's a YouTube content creator, would say, that, hey, I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about on my channel, you talk about. No, that's the problem with him, though. He literally, and I'm not even exaggerating, he literally, here's his thing. He's only cool with other black men who co-sign with all of his harsh criticisms and insults of black women. That's the only people he's cool with in the manosphere, on YouTube and in the manosphere in general. The only people he's cool with are people who, to one degree or another, co-sign with his various harsh criticisms and insults of black women. And anybody who he perceives as not being willing to co-sign with his harsh criticisms and insults of black women, they're automatically the enemy. He automatically labels you a simp. He'll say you're caping for women or you're pandering to women. That you don't have the balls and backbone to stand up to black women. And this is where I'm gonna wrap up. And again, man, this is mainly towards brothers. I mean, I know I got some white men listening to me right now. I know I got some Asian men, Hispanic men, Middle Eastern men. But I'm telling you right now, man, y'all walking a dangerous path, man. Real talk. If you want to spend the rest of your life not going to therapy for these unresolved issues you have, if you've genuinely been abused by somebody in your life, whether it's a male, female, black woman, white woman, whatever, you need to be in therapy. You need to be in therapy. That's what you need to be in. You don't need to be on YouTube. You need to be in therapy. And if you think I'm lying, ask any credentialed psychiatrist if Alan Roger Currie is wrong in saying that. Ask any credentialed psychiatrist ask them right now, as soon as this video is over, contact a credentialed psychiatrist and say, I heard this guy Alan Roger Currie say that if I have some unresolved emotional issues, either with a family member or somebody else, that I need to be in therapy. Is what he's saying valid, or is he just talking out his ass? See what they say. See what they say. There's a lot of black men on YouTube. Man, y'all got some unresolved mommy issues. Y'all got some unresolved mommy issues that you need to get over. I don't have no unresolved mommy issues. Because my father was such a rock in my family, he would have never allowed my mother to verbally or emotionally abuse me and my brother. My father would have stepped in. Where was Obsidian's father at? Why come he didn't step in if Obsidian feels like his mother and sisters were abusing him? How come his father didn't step in? A lot of you black men on YouTube, I'm tired. I'm telling you, dude, I'm tired of listening to y'all bitching all the time about black women. I'm tired of it. I can't even listen to y'all motherfuckers no more. There's some people that when I first got on YouTube, I used to listen to that I no longer listen to because all y'all fucking talk about is how much y'all hate black women and how fucked up they are. I don't see them that way. Y'all can call me a simp. Y'all can say I'm caping for women. I could give 3 flying fucks. Believe that shit. Most of the black women I've dealt with in my life have been loving towards me. They've been respectful towards me. They've been financially generous with me. People who are Facebook friends see how black women, man, I have black women on my Facebook page who refer to me as Sir and King Allen. That's the type of respect I get from black women. I have women who call me Sir and or King Allen. That's how I roll. I ain't got no black women in my life disrespecting me. Here's the reality of not only black women, but of all women, man. Women are going to exhibit any form of behavior that, number one, the laws of the land allow them to. Let me repeat that. Number one, women are going to exhibit any behavior that the laws of the land, their particular country and culture, allows them to get away with. And then on a more micro level, they're going to exhibit any form of behavior that any individual man who wants to date them or fuck them allows them to get away with. Period. End the story. End the story. So all this whining and bitching, y'all ain't gonna change shit. I know it must be therapeutic for y'all on YouTube to vent about this shit, but y'all ain't changing shit. Black women ain't gonna change their behavior because of your whining and complaining. They ain't gonna be motivated to improve their behavior because of your whining and complaining. Women are gonna continue to exhibit whatever behavior that in this country, that the United States government allows them to get away with. And on a more personal level, they're gonna exhibit whatever behavior that their husband, fiance, boyfriend, or fuck buddy allows them to get away with. Period. When y'all gonna understand that? Wake the fuck up. And again, for you guys who are following Mumia Obsidian Ally, I'm gonna pray for you. You need to watch yourself. That guy is mentally unbalanced and emotionally unstable. This man snapped off, again, not because I hurled some major insult his way, but simply because I told him, I said, hey man, black female fuckery is your thing. You are free to talk about that on your YouTube channel. But my thing is, do not try to obligate me to emphasize black female fuckery on my YouTube channel. Because I ain't gonna never emphasize that stupid bullshit on my fucking channel. And if that causes 50, 55, 60% of the black men on YouTube to hate my ass and start criticizing so my ass, I could give 2 flying fucks. 2 flying fucks. Fuck you whiny bitchy motherfuckers. Y'all need to be in therapy instead of on YouTube. That's what Alan Roger Currie got to say on this beautiful Saturday morning afternoon. So there you have it. All right, just went over an hour. I didn't want it to. For my Patreon subscribers, I'm going to be uploading either today or tomorrow, uploading something for my $20 Patreon subscribers, another installment of my intimate interviews. Matter of fact, my intimate interview is with a black woman. Man, I might have to review this video before I upload it because she might have been full of black female fuckery. I don't know if I want to upload, this video, this black woman I interviewed in Los Angeles, because she might be giving off semblances of black female fuckery. This is the Alan Roger Currie dog face.
Yes, sir.
Say it again.
Yes, sir.
Who's the king?
Alan, you're the king.
Say it again.
Alan, You're the king. You're dominating me.
Say it again.
Alan, you're dominating me right now. Mode 1.
Mode 1.
Daddy, can I go, please? You're the king.
Say it again.
Oh, king. Oh, you're the fucking king. Yes. Yes. Yes.
You're the king, Alan.
AKA the king of verbal seduction. You know, it's the tone of your voice, how seductive your intonations are, the vibrations that you could just reach out over the phone lines and stroke a woman's breast just by the sound of your voice, how you could make her pussy so wet just by the sound of your voice. That's actually very hot.
So you said my show was what?
I said your show is powerful.
Oh, say it again.
Your show is powerful.
I bet the king would fuck me really good.
Oh, yeah. Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie.
Oh, yeah. Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie. The king.
The king.
The king.